All right, thanks for attending today's news conference regarding the fire union vote. City Manager Robert Layton will have some comments, and he'll take your questions. Unfortunately, Fire Chief Blackwell is not here today. He's attending a conference for the International Association of Fire Chiefs.
And thank you. I'm going to read from a prepared statement first, and then I'll be glad to take any questions after that. Needless to say, I'm disappointed in the recent scheduling of a no-confidence vote by the leadership of the International Association of Firefighters. In taking this action, the union leadership violated an informal agreement that was reached in 2011 with the assistance of the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. Acknowledging a long history of rancor and protracted disputes, both parties agreed to move forward in a more positive and productive manner. We committed to proactive resolutions of disputes, professionalism, and mutual understanding. We recognized that this model would take time to successfully implement and that there would be bumps along the way. It is unfortunate that union leadership was not willing to give the process more time to positively address its concerns about contract administration. At this point, I want to be clear in expressing my support for Chief Ron Blackwell and for the men and women of the Wichita Fire Department. This department consistently provides Wichita's residents and businesses with professional and effective fire services. This statement is fact. The fire department consistently exceeds the performance of comparable cities in response time, arrival time for backup units, and arson clearance rates. Additionally, the department devotes more time to training, inspects more buildings, and protects our citizens in a more cost-effective manner than its counterparts. This level of service earned the department an approval rating of 94% from Wichita residents when they were surveyed in 2010. The issue that appears to be in dispute at this time involves contract interpretation, not service delivery. While both the city and rank and file members of the fire department are committed to maintaining the high level of service just noted, this vote reflects that there are issues and concerns that must be discussed between the department's management staff and the rank and file members. As such, I have asked Chief Blackwell to visit every fire station and every shift during the next few months to begin that dialogue. This process will be consistent with the agreement that was brokered by the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service and will provide everyone in the department an opportunity to contribute toward a positive working environment. The only way we can resolve our differences is through an honest and authentic exchange of ideas and concerns. Again, I want to express my continued commitment to the delivery of professional fire services in Wichita and to maintaining a positive working environment for everyone in the Wichita Fire Department. I ask the IAFF leadership to join me in this effort and to renew its commitment to a more productive and positive dispute resolution process. With that, I'd be glad to take questions.
Bob, you said the union violated an agreement. You had an agreement that they would not conduct this no confidence vote?
No, Jared, what we did is we had an informal agreement on how we would work together going forward on issues in dispute. And that's how we resolved our differences in contract negotiation. That's how we addressed some issues during budget that they had regarding concerns about public safety as a result of my budget recommendations. There are a number of issues that we have worked together on resolving in the last 18 months or so, since we brought federal mediation in to help us work through a process.
So you aren't saying that they violated agreement by holding this vote, that you're not saying that?
I'm saying that they are not living up with the spirit of the informal agreement that we worked out with federal mediation last year.
Part of the formal agreement that you guys worked out was 117 firefighters per shift. They're saying this morning that one of the grievances they have against the chief is that fire department administration has been pressuring the firehouses to cut back and be below that 117 number. What's your thoughts on that allegation?
Well, first of all, there's two issues. One is 117 is not a hard and fast number, but is a number we'd agree we would try to keep on a regular basis. Second of all, we've already resolved that grievance. As a week ago, we resolved that issue, again, following a process using federal mediation. which is, again, what we agreed to in 2011. So we were able to get through their concerns about that in a way that both sides, I think, walked away maybe not perfectly happy, but understanding that we found a good compromise or middle ground.
They mentioned this morning that you personally have been involved in dealing with several disputes over the last just few months, even since this deal went into effect. Specifically, apparently the last straw for them was this November of last year promotions test, for lack of a better word, where they're saying that more than half of the results wound up being incorrectly reported. Since that was the straw that broke the back for them this morning, what are your thoughts on that situation there? Do you feel that they should just kept plowing ahead and using the correct channels that you mentioned here prior?
Yes, because we had agreed we weren't going to follow the approach that has not worked for the city and the union over the last 10 to 15 years. We've had protracted battles with the union, and to the point where I didn't even want to talk about it any longer. I didn't want to talk about who was to blame. I simply said, look, there's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way to understand each other's concerns and to find a mutual way of resolving the disputes and the issues. And that's what we've done on every issue, including right now the one on promotion. There was an honest mistake made in the promotion process for captain. We went back, corrected that. And we're in the process of finalizing that. More importantly, what I've committed to is an honest, fair, and transparent promotion process. So we're looking at making some other changes. And that, again, will be subject to discussion if the union agrees to negotiate with us the way that they have in the last 18 months.
Bob, I think what they would say in return to that, though, is that the administration isn't living up to its end of the bargain. And these numbers, I mean, do you have any thoughts on just how extraordinarily high they are? I mean, we're talking 94% for the chief, 97 and 97 for Wetzel and Aaron. And, you know, to counter those numbers, it was only 58% for Fire Marshal Crisp, and obviously, we'll talk about Snow in a moment. But, I mean, is it asking too much out of the fire department to keep plowing away at these channels when, even since this agreement, the formal and informal parts of it back in November, that there's been screw-ups since then? I mean, from the union's perspective, when you have this many members telling them that we want to do this, and then you see these types of results, I mean, can you guys even go that route now?
I believe in the process, and I believe that we can. I can't talk about the issues that are in the minds of the firefighters, the rank and file. That's why the chief has agreed to get out and talk to folks, because right now his primary contact with the rank and file is through the union leadership. It's a limited number of people, and this is an honest opportunity for him to go out and say, okay, what can we do to make this department better? What do we need to do to move forward? And I endorse that process completely, and I think that's what we had agreed to, last year. And we have I've tried to follow that, and I believe that the chief is making a good faith effort to do that. Let me just tell you right now, running a fire department is extremely difficult because for fire scene, it's a command structure. If somebody says you have to get into that building and you have to attack it, you really don't have a debate for a long period of time. You have to move in that direction. So the whole issue of hierarchy and the fact that it's a paramilitary organization comes into play. Then at the same time, when you have workplace issues, you have to then put on a whole different hat as a manager, and you have to talk about being collaborative and listening to people, and that's hard to do. It's probably more difficult than the job that I have, because I don't have life safety issues where following the rules, following the order makes a difference in possibly somebody's life. So it is a very difficult line to walk.
Bob, what do you think about the fact that Mr. Schultz came out and questioned the morale of the fire department? Do you get the sense that morale is very low at this point?
Well, the contacts I've had with the people in the department, I don't sense that, but I'm not there day in and day out. There's no doubt we've been in a tough time, and so this organization has had to endure a lot. Whether it's the fire department, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, we've gone through without raises for a few years. We've had very limited resources. We've had to cut back. At the same time, we've had to be pretty innovative in how we were going to get through this period of time. Some people have been energized by it. Some people have been probably felt victimized by it, and so I can't speak to what the department morale is. And I wouldn't be the right person to comment on that.
Bob, you just said you've gone without raises for a few years, but his top administrators were given close to 40% raises, some of them, while Chief Snow, the one who, by the way, did pass the raise, makes quite significantly less than the people, and continues to make less than the people who he gave raises to. How do you argue that?
Well, Jared, you brought this up a year ago. I mean, this issue is over a year old now. I've talked to the union about it. I have put in place procedures to look at promotions and the raises that go with promotions. We have more safeguards in place, recognizing our financial condition. I've talked to the chief about moving forward, so we made changes in the fire department as well as organization-wide. And to bring up, I mean, again, this goes back to the issue. We agreed that we were not going to continue to beat each other up over issues. We're going to get them resolved and move forward. And what I'm asking the department to do, but more importantly the firefighters union to do, is to get back to that positive approach to moving forward. We're never going to turn the corner if we can't do that. And so, I mean, I don't want to rehash. I mean, we could bring up things that probably happened 5 or 6 years ago, before I was even here. What I keep hearing, I heard about them until we agreed with federal mediation how we would move forward, and we would quit beating each other up over what happened in the past.
One current issue that's ongoing right now involves Division Chief Tammy Snow. She's been in an acting role as a Deputy Chief of Operations for quite some time now. She's obviously popular with the fire department. What's the hold up as far as why can't she just be promoted to this position? What's taking so long as far as filling that on a full time?
Right. 2 people have actually served in that acting capacity, and the issue was evaluation of their performance. I think the chief is pretty close to finishing that evaluation, and he'll make an announcement regarding a final appointment.
We'll take a few more questions.
Blackwell says he looks forward, in his statement here, quoting, he looks forward to continue working together to provide effective fire service. It certainly, from the union standpoint, there's been no working together between this relationship.
Right. And Jared, as you know, there's always 2 sides to every story, and I have gone item by item with the chief after I've heard issues from the department or from the union leadership, and I've said, Chief, what about this? And then he'll come back with, well, I did this and this, and my efforts were rejected by the union. I'm not going to get in the middle of that because, frankly, again, that's a he said, she said, and it doesn't move us forward in terms of a productive working department. And that's the deal. I think at this point, the chief is committed to working with the rank and file to address any issues that are serious and substantive, and he will do that. In the meantime, I want to continue to assure the public that we're doing a great job with our firefighters. And, to me, we're primarily here today because of some contract issues and interpretation issues, because every time a fire safety issue or a life safety issue has come up, whether it's during the budget or other issues that have come to the mayor, council, or me, we've always dealt with those pretty diligently. And I think, again, using this process, we address those issues. Did it during the budget process under a previous IAFF president, and I think came up with a real successful conclusion to that, to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves on the street, that people can continue to give us a high 90% or better rating for our fire services.
I think we got one more. The union has said with this vote that it's calling for Chief Blackwell's resignation. Have there been any talks about him resigning, and how effective a leader can he continue to be? You're a leader of people yourself.
Right.
When 94% of the people who work under you say they can't work for you, how can you continue to lead?
Well, first of all, there has been no talk about resignation, and second of all, at this point, I think he doesn't know what all those issues are and how many. Again, it's pretty hard to know what's in the mind of someone, in Fire Station 5, for instance, if you're not out there on a regular basis. And I think that's, it's. When you're an administrator, it's hard to be in the field on a frequent basis, and so he's committed. He's going to go out and hear what the issues are. I think he is an effective leader, and I think he can continue to be that way, or can actually improve in terms of the perception of the employees if he goes out there and does this authentic engagement with the employees, and he's committed to doing that.